that's been kicked in the nuts by fake news. Nobody knows what to believe.
I don't know what I said.
We need one maverick newsman to cut through all the noise and tell us what's really real.
I'm not that guy. Hello, and welcome back to Really Real with Richie Redding. I'm Richie Redding. Excited about today's episode, and having perused my scant notes, I am pretty sure that this will go down as a problematically ageist episode. So trigger warning, if you're not into that, this ain't the sode for you, brother. But my sweet Robert, I had a proper shit show this past weekend for the first time in a very long time. I mean, just a real proper doozy. First of all, I feel like I forgot to back up and point out the actual elephant in the room here that my background has changed because I'm in my undisclosed location, which is also Lisa's parents' house, and this background was from her bat mitzvah of Lisa Saves the Planet, and 30 years later they still have this sumbitch. I can't move the camera right now. You can kind of see there's a monkey here, there's a zebra, we got a giraffe and a cheetah. It's very Jumanji, the background, and also extremely fitting of the story for which I'm about to tell you, because not because I did a black show. It was, and anybody that knows my comedy, I love me some black shows. It's how I came up. I was always the only white guy in the room. Started at the Laugh House and then moved on to enormous black shows, and I've a lot of the most fun that I've ever had in my life has been doing these shows, and so it was a promoter that I didn't know, but working with a bunch of comics that I do, and all I knew was that Rob Stapleton was headlining it. So, and he's great. If you have a chance to see Rob, beast, and I'm like, so but it's also, I get the flyer, and it's like 8 comics on the flyer. It's like, oh no, it's one of these, right? Like, it's the flyer itself is embarrassing, and the day of show, like when I was talking about it with Rob, is like, all right, well, I assume it's like everybody, then me, then you, and then we get a text with the run of the show, and I'm second. And it's like, for a second, I'm like, my ego flares up, right? And I'm like, man, fuck this. I'm blah, 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 blah. And I actually typed out saying, hey, just so you know, with this one guy's name, to the host, hey, just so you know, the last time that guy had to follow me, he drowned. I had it typed out, and then I deleted it because I was like, what am I doing? What am I saying? Like, I'm getting the same amount of money. Who cares, right? Like, just get it over with. Get out of there.
You get to go home early in the Bobby playbook.
Well, I would have been. There was an option to stay the night, but. Right after I deleted that guy responded to that text that I was going to send that okay. And I was like, oh shit. So I almost, I didn't know it was the group thread. So I almost sent it to everybody, and that wouldn't have been good. So the old restraint of pen or tongue paid off there. But then we get to the place. Well, yeah, the first warning sign was that they sent us the hotel reservation, and it was for the Quality Inn with 1.5 stars. A Universal Road comic hack joke and true statement is that there ain't shit quality in the quality in. So I didn't even look at it. It's just like, yeah, I'm not fucking staying there. But we get there. I drove there. I met up with Rob ahead of time, and we get there, and this place is enormous. It's at the Kalahari Resorts, which, I don't know, you're Pennsylvania guys. It's in the Poconos. But when I heard, I knew all along it was there, but I was expecting for some reason for it to be like an Indian casino or something. It's a water slide park in the middle of the Poconos, but it's all African themed for some reason. But it's like, it's just a bunch of white redneck families going down water slides. Like, they're shoehorning the African theme into this thing so hard.
The best part is, like, that area is known for a Great Wolf Lodge, which is like a chain of indoor water parks. So this is clearly just, our family can't afford that. Let's go stay at the African water slide park.
Yeah, but also, like, Africa, not known necessarily for its water, right? So anyway, we get to this thing, and it's in, the show itself is in a convention center, and it took like 5 minutes because they had this, like, there was surly security that was all clearly like ex-cops or whatever. And we finally get into the room. You got a picture of it, Bobby, that it was literally like a 4,000 person convention room. And there, you can't tell from that picture, but there's people on all sides of that stage. They've got it set up for comedy in the round or in the square or whatever. And, like, there's people in every far corner that you can possibly get to. Like, that, dude, that's ready for a steel cage match. Like, that literally looks like it would be WWF or some shit. So immediately it's like, oh my God. And we hauled ass getting there. It was funny. This is the first time ever that I was like super chill and a black comic was like, no, we got to get you there on time. It was like, bro, this shit is not starting on time. The flyer said it was starting at 7. I showed up at 7:30 without a care in the world. Started at 8:50, but the promoter never said hi. And he didn't have anybody there, any kind of staff, other than just this other old guy with the bad hip that everybody was calling Cook. And we're like, dude, where's the green room? He's like, I don't know. It's like, all right, well, can you go and ask the promoter guy? And he's like, yeah, I don't know, man. So we had to find it ourselves. And it was like another zip code, basically. And we finally get there, and there's supposed to be food, and there's not even water. It got to the point that we like surrounded this guy, and we're like, dude, like this. He was trying to imply that we were being like Hollywood. He was like, no, this is a human right. Like, we're not in. Give us, give us. Let me fill my trunk, and. So he just goes into this song and dance. Like, I've never seen somebody live in the problem more than this dude. That he's just telling us like, yo man, I'm not like this. They just, the Kalahari, they dicked me. They were supposed to be this, they were supposed to be that. Like, I don't care. And like every time I kept trying to get it solved, he just kept going back into telling us how he got screwed over. And at one point, he's like, look, I'll buy you guys water. I'll buy you water. And he gives $20 to this comic, Tim. He's like, go buy some water. And he's like, what? Like, dude, this is like talent. Like, you're supposed to handle this shit. Well, I fucking told you about the water. It's like, bro, okay. And Timmy, like, he begrudgingly goes up to try to buy, and he stands in this line for like 15 minutes. And he finally gets to the front, and they go, we don't take cash. So while all this shit is going on, I just went to I went into the like the catering hallways, and I got like 6 cases of water. I just start like passing them out. Like I gave every comic a case of water while this guy's in the middle. Like his back was to me. He's in the middle of saying there's no water on site. He's done everything he can, and I'm just giving out just cases of water. And then at another point, while he was in the middle of talking about how there's no way to find anything, I found a big ass those big banquet cisterns of water on a cart and wheeled that in. And the guy still is just in the just would not drop. There's nothing we can do. So yeah, so I wound up. I went second. Thank God that it was an over 55 crowd for the most part that had already been in their seats for 2 hours and 10 minutes by the time I went on. And any idea that I had in my head of I should be doing longer time, I did literally just 10 minutes of making fun of the place. And if you guys, I know kind of who's watching this right now, we have to do better. You're not really at a proper black show unless there's a flea market of weird shit out in the front. And one of the things has to be sea moss gel. There has to be dead homie shirts, which we talked about the last episode, I believe. You can airbrush anybody into angel shape with the rest in peace. Also, there has to be dildos. It is not a show unless there's fucking dildo, big dildos next to red velvet cupcake stand. These are the rules for a black show. So, yeah, it was the show itself was a reminder. I made the mistake that I've done many, many times, which is that if you start off just riffing like that, it's really hard to follow yourself with material. So I was humbled. I will not forget, you made me better. You sharpened my sword because steel sharpens steel. But, okay, with that said, we're over there, Bumbo.
It feels like now we're getting into the news stories, which is you got done riffing, time to do material.
Oh, no, hold on. But this is the funniest thing of the whole thing. You had the one picture. This is actually what I started off with. The sign pointing into the convention center room that we were going into was, zoom in on that, the Africa rooms this way. I started off with being like, guys, I knew I was doing a black show, but they didn't tell me we were literally going to be in the Africa room. Holy shit. We had a good time. We did. But, yeah, not known for the water slides. So the Africa room, you know how the Richie brain works, that it goes all over the place, that it made me think of what happened to Joseph Kony. Do you remember that guy, Bobby?
We had to stop him.
Kony 2012?
Yeah, we had to stop him.
Kony 2012. It was from the documentary, I think, Missing Children. It was the original slacktivism, right? Of just put. It was like the Kardashians and the Biebers and shit retweeted this thing, and it was the first ever YouTube video to get 100 million views, and somebody made a whole bunch of money on the rubber bracelets. Remember the rubber bracelets?
Oh yeah.
I feel like in 20 years, that's going to be how you know, or even in 10 years, that's going to be the equivalent of the porn stash that you know it's from the 70s, or a girl having a big hairy bush. It's going to be dudes having on the Livestrong bracelet. There's so many of those things in 2010 porn. It's hilarious. But at any rate, so yeah, I dug into the Kony 2012 thing, and it was so the whole thing was that it was in Uganda and that he was taking child soldiers and he was making these child soldiers like his like go to war with other villages and they would go into villages and shoot them up and shit like that. But and it got all kinds of pushback from actual Africans that know what was happening, saying that it was like the ultimate oversimplification. But it was also during it was during the surge in Iraq, and it was also like election time. So Obama and them got involved, but they couldn't send actual troops. So this was, and I talk about psyops on here all the time. This was an actual successful psyop. Was that UNICEF got? So it was the problem was that they were in deep ass jungle, and these kids were crazy brainwashed. And I read a book about this. It's called A Long Way Gone. And I don't know authors' names. You know this about me, Michael something. But it was a former child soldier, and he like explains the process of how these kids get indoctrinated and brainwashed. And it's like they'll take so like soldiers come and everybody flees the village, and then they capture all of the boys, right? It'll be like 20 boys or whatever. And it's like a 2-day process where they get these kids like between 8 and 12 or whatever. They get them shit-faced, and they also give them what they call brown, which is cocaine and gunpowder. And some of them, this is the worst way I've ever heard of doing drugs, but they'll slash the kid's arm and put fucking a handful of brown in it, and they just and it's like yeah. So the gunpowder thing was something that like they've apparently been doing it for fighting dogs for like centuries. That like it kind of supposedly they used to do it in the 70s with like German shepherds. When somebody had a really aggressive German shepherd, they would mix gunpowder in because they thought that it made it more game. So yeah, so they're making fighting dogs out of kids, right? And the way that so they would ratchet up the violence, and they would tell the adult soldiers would tell these kids that their whole family got killed by kids from the other side, from the neighboring village or whatever, right? From the enemy's camp. And the way that they actually got indoctrinated was that they would basically make like a firing squad, and they would bring in one kid, and they'd be like, this kid killed your family. And like, if you don't kill him, they're gonna keep killing the rest of them. Your whole family's dead because of him. And they would make a firing squad. Some of them had blanks, some of them had whatever. And they would just force these kids high as fuck to all kill another kid, right? And that was the state of play that these fucking kids lived in throughout their like childhood and teens. So the craziest part of that book is that so the UNICEF plan works. It's actually like I said, it's an extremely successful psyop, because what they did, so they first got to, one of the first people that they got to was one of Kony's higher ups. He was like his comms guy, and he'd been with him since he was a kid. And somehow they got a photo to him of his uncle and his sisters, who he had been told had died all these years ago, and like, so that made him realize, like, holy shit, like the whole thing was fake, right? And they start just blasting. They didn't know where they were, so they just start blasting in the jungle. They were setting up basically like boom boxes on top of hills that just had things on loop saying that there's total amnesty, and you can come out anytime. The war is over. There's never been a war. Like this, this guy's brainwashing and all this stuff. Because Kony also told them. Well, but again, I'm also oversimplifying. It wasn't Kony. It was like there was hundreds of Konys. He was just like the face of it. And they, so these kids start walking out one at a time. They would get defections of like 20 kids at a time. So here's where the exciting part comes in. So you've got UNICEF, which is just this NGO, right? And they've got one building to do this in, but they're getting kids from both sides to quit this war at the same time, because again, it's not just Kony. They're both sides are doing it. So they're in a dormitory, and first of all, they're not only like, child guerrilla soldiers that are now teenagers, so you're just naturally amped up anyway. They're also detoxing from brown and coke and heroin and amphetamines and all this shit that they would give them to keep them amped. Right? So they're already just scratching at the walls. But on one floor is, to oversimplify, these are the wrong names, the Hutus, here's the Tutsis, right? And the kids don't know about it, but one time, in this book, one time they realized, like, somebody let slip that the other ones were up there, and both sides of this thing, it just turned into the Lord of the Flies, that they were just, they all played sleep, right? Like, it was like, yep, going to sleep. And then it was just on. And it was like the greatest child prison riot of all times, with just former soldiers kicking the living shit out of each other. I'm going to talk about defund the police, right? Like, so now you've got some people, some UNICEF workers with fucking clipboards, be like, you boys, stop that. Woo! Is that exciting?
Somebody call the UN.
There's no end to that.
Somebody call the UN.
Yeah. We need some white hats. There's some blue helmets. Is blue helmets? What are those useless pussies do? But yeah, dude, could you fucking imagine that?
Oh my God.
Yeah. All right. I feel like that was a good, weird Richie story for the.
Just for a clarification point, Richie. So what you were saying is there were like 100 or so of these Konys that were all recruiting gangs just to fight all the other gangs. Essentially, it wasn't like one side versus the other as much. It was just kind of mass chaos.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was like it was warlords.
Yeah. So you had like
right?
almost like a feudal system.
There wasn't necessarily like even sides. It wasn't a binary, but. And it's something very interesting. Also, is that it was part of our plan with the old global war on terror, was partnering with these types of guys, like especially in Somalia, that like we were farming out body snatching basically to full on warlords, and it was just like, yeah, dead or alive, we're looking for these Al-Shabaab guys, and they would bring back extra guys and be like, all right, well, how much for that? And like, you don't even know who that is. Like, well, we killed him. You're not gonna go say money. But yeah, well, I'll discuss Dirty Wars on here one of these days. It's a mind-blowing book, but. Let's move on, shall we?
We shall. Something hot and spicy?
Top story. Bad bitch alert. Uh-oh. Who's on the cover of Sports Illustrated? 81 years of Marfa. That's who. Hey. Dude. The Lizzo-ification is complete. In the last 3 years, we've gone from Sports Illustrated being 350 pounds to retarded, and now 81. We've done it. We've hit for the cycle. There's nothing left, dude. Like, this goes back to my theory that in 20 years, when you find out that your buddy's dating a model, your first response is going to be, oh, shit, dude, how bad is it? Like, oh, show me. How fucked up is she? I'm pretty sure that at some point they had Dylan Mulvaney on lock, and they had to throw the parachute on that, but... Like, dude, 25-year-old white girls can ruin anything, and that is absolutely... I work with marketing departments. That is who's running marketing departments. That's who all the good ideas come from. This started with, how can we take down the pitch? I know. An 81-year-old Sports Illustrated model. But, to her credit, would.
If she wasn't Martha Stewart, if she was just a random old lady, if she didn't have the fame with
it. No, with this thing, I mean, look, she looks amazing, but also, and girls are going crazy for this shit on Instagram, that she's a queen and she looks amazing and shit. Do you not only see one enormous filter when you look at these pictures?
Oh my God, yeah.
Dude, I want to see the untouched pictures, and you can here's the tell. Look at, on the left side, look at her arm that's in the water. That shit looks way different than the arms that are out of the water.
That's so true.
Yeah. If there's not some veins going up and down them titties, you can kiss my ass, man. But, dude... This is officially Lizzo world, man. It's like, no, everybody's hot. No, they're not. No, they're not. I think the progression is going to be that we go next, Oprah. Right? Oprah would really be a huge get, because that way, I mean, that's a threefer, basically. Maybe a fourfer. Right,
I like that.
Got black, obese, old, gay. Mm-hmm. If only Oprah could swim.
Now, could it be that, like, just with porn being so rampant, they have to find these fetish niches, like, of who else will still look at it? So, like, you could find most pornography. You know what you can't find? Martha Stewart in a bikini at 82. You know what else you can't find? That retarded model.
Oh, you can find her.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can lure her.
Easily.
Yeah. All it takes is some hard candy and a soft voice. Trust me, brother.
And a puppy.
Yeah, but, dude, it really used to mean something. It really meant something to be on the Sports Illustrated. But, I mean, it's just, like, who is looking at Sports Illustrated anymore that it's not sports traffic, right? So, I think they're just trying to sell you air fryers. Like, I think what was once one of the best magazines, or most highly regarded magazines, is now just one huge affiliate link. And they keep woke washing this shit and getting people that never would have opened Sports Illustrated because they're so proud of how courageous they are for making these choices to just fucking, buy eye cream from them instead of from some other influencer. Like, it's done as a publication. So here's the call. I mean, there hasn't been a trans woman yet. Get your shit together. Or, even better, trans dude. That would be the real shit. Just have a brolic ass dude show his pussy. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of that poom poom. Oh! And then the year after that, an aborted fetus on the beach. We've taken down the patriarchy. Jesus. I feel like I'm 100. Fun story of the week, if we could move on, Robert, was my man. This is a fun one. Colorado driver tries switching places with dog to avoid DUI. A DUI suspect in Colorado tried unsuccessfully to pin the rap on his dog, according to police in eastern Colorado. Cops in Springfield wrote on Facebook, that's hilarious, that the attempted switcheroo happened around 11:30 p.m. Saturday when officers pulled over a vehicle driving 52 and a 30. That's a little bit over. The driver attempted to switch places with his dog, who was in the passenger seat, as the SPD officer approached and watched the entire process. The male party then exited the passenger side of the vehicle and claimed he was not driving. Yeah, I'm thinking you're better off just running into the woods. Just go Rambo instead of trying. Yeah, just take to the trees. Go Predator on them instead of trying to pin it on the old canine. The dog was given to an acquaintance, and the driver was taken to jail. The dog does not face any charges, and was let go with just a warning. Oh, those wacky cops! My dad saw there was a very loud crash like right in front of his office one time, and he went just to see if they were okay, but it was like 3 p.m. and it was a couple that was in they were in a convertible. It was summertime, and they're both fucking hammered, and like there's literally like feet in the air when my dad gets there. And they're both like scrambling and they're like, she's driving, and they're like just total rednecks. And she's like, yeah, I was driving, but she's like trying to get her head out from under the steering wheel and shit. And it turned out the guy had like 5 DUIs already. It was like guaranteed real prison time if he blew another one.
Oh no.
Yeah, and those people learned an important lesson about Mark Redding and his thoughts on snitching. He'll do it. The guy, he had already called the cops, so waits until the cops come, and they talk to the drivers first, and he comes back and he's like, "Was that true?" He's like, "No." At first, I thought he was going to wind up having to like go and testify against them. And then like the cop went back to the girl and was like, well, that guy says you weren't driving. She's like, yeah, it was. So he just had to sign some affidavit or something. But this Colorado arrest brings up what is really my all-time favorite DUI story, if you would. Colorado man reined in for drunken horseback riding. Okay, I'm not going to read this one. This dude, one Patrick Schumacher in Colorado, got pulled over for drunk driving a horse. And on that, so the cops asked him what he was, where he was going, and dude's just shit face on the side of the road, like falling off the horse. And they asked him where he was going. And he said he was going to his brother's wedding in New Mexico, which was 600 miles away. And on the horse, he had with him, I believe it was a pug, an old-timey blunderbuss pistol, which is just, it was a pug. I just fact-checked that. I haven't seen this story for 10 years. Yeah, he had an old-timey blunderbuss, the flouted pistol, the old one-shot that like you could feel like the Sleepy Hollow pistol. And very pointedly, if you can see that picture there, a bucket.
Yeah.
Bobby, you know what he's going to do with that bucket, don't you?
It's the porta potty.
Can you imagine? Oh yeah, there's the dog on top of his shoulder up there in that picture. Can you imagine that you're shit-faced enough to hit the road for 600 miles, which, I mean, how many miles can a horse do in a day? 50?
Yeah. And then, like, you're supposed to
So you're
groom it and, like, cool it down. And
You're looking at least a 12-day journey. I do like that he brought his dog. I like that he thought about self-defense. There's bears in them there woods. And then he had the wherewithal for a pooping bucket. This story will tickle me forever.
it's a big backpack. He can fit his clothes in there. Right? You think he fit his
Clothes,
wedding
yeah.
clothes? Because you can't show up to a wedding without your suit.
Yeah. Well, and he won't be poopy pantsed also on account of the bucket. All right. We've got many pictures for this. Diane Feinstein. Is it Feinstein or Feinstein? I think it's Feinstein. Diane Feinstein back to work at 89 years old after recovering for 3 months from the shingles. And dude, this story, I've been watching this forever of like before she came back. That I'm pretty sure she chairs the Judiciary Committee, so Biden hasn't been able to pass like any judges since she got there. And I mean, if Trump did one thing, it was crush the judge appointing game, right? But there's all these new details are coming out that since 2019, her staff wouldn't let her go anywhere, literally anywhere around the office or the Capitol alone. And it was because they didn't know what she was going to say. And if she talked to a reporter, she was going to say some wild shit. And it got to the point that reporters like stopped going to print in their normal amount of time because, and they like kind of just stopped talking to her because as soon as her staff found out that she had said something, they would claw it back and give them the old, this is what she actually meant. So what it really means is that completely unelected officials are just running this zombie for their own ends. And also that there's no way that the White House press corps doesn't, or you know, the Capitol press, whatever, doesn't know that she's completely fucking out of it. Since 2019, and that was 4 years ago. And supposedly they had a problem with interns and junior staffers were cracking jokes about how in their daily meetings, she would start off with a topic and then half an hour later, she would propose that same topic be talked about. And instead of saying we already did it, they would just run the loop. So they're having these Alzheimer's meetings where they're just placating this woman instead of somebody somewhere saying, "Hey, it's time." They just keep playing this game. And it's actually that I heard this recently that the DNC was actually pushing somebody else in California to run against her. And Obama and them stepped in and endorsed her in her last race and said that people should come out for her, and they did it. What was that, Bobby?
Sorry, something popped up on the page we were looking at.
Okay. So at any rate, the solution to junior staffers cracking jokes is that there's no more junior staffers or interns are ever allowed to be in the same room with her. So they're not just playing this game against like, you know, the press and the world. They're playing it internally that somebody has to be like, that you can't get anybody that's not supposed to know how completely senile she is. And but this was great. So this was just 2 weeks ago. There was an article that Feinstein pushes back on claims her absence has delayed judicial nominees. Doesn't say when she'll return. Right? And this is from CNN. So other than MSNBC, that's like as friendly as it gets, basically. And They don't have any problem with this line. Feinstein indicated in a statement that she still plans to return, but did not say when that would happen, which we now know was 2 weeks later. Said in a statement. That's not, what that doesn't say is Feinstein said she doesn't know when she's going to, a piece of paper said when she's going to return. And I mean, dude, it drives me fucking crazy that, like, first of all, to say that she's not holding up the process is, like, obviously fake. But it's just this death grip that the people that are in power have. And it's not even the person in power necessarily. It's their staffer that just keeps them barely moving. And it's like, when will, I mean, are they even, she's 89. I don't even know if she's a boomer. She might be like the generation above boomer. But they just have such a fucking grip because only old people vote. And like, there's just this inverted triangle of age that there's still more baby boomers than anybody else, and they keep pushing these dead bodies across the finish line. So now we're not. So here's the best part of Feinstein returning to work is that, I mean, basically, One-Eyed Willie showed up. Dude. That is not a picture. Bring up the pictures. That is One-Eyed Willie. Like, look, at some point, everybody passes, right? And if you said this is the picture of a woman that lived a great life 2 days before she died at almost 90 years old, you'd be like, oh, God bless. Yeah. No, she's returning to work as a U.S. Senator. I think, okay, not to be ageist. No, to be ageist. At the very least, if we can't give him a driving test, right, because you don't need to be able to drive to be a senator. You don't need to be able to push your own wheelchair. There's literally somebody, it's like old people at the airport with her. But I want the knee hammer test. The little... You cannot convince me that if you hit Diane Feinstein with that little rubber mallet that she's going to kicky foot. There's not a chance. Don't do the Paul Pelosi hammer. That was too much hammer. But a little pink, little something on the knee bone. Come on. But so this was the best part is that Ken Klippenstein was one of them. There's reporters that were commenting on how old she is, and Pelosi shut it down and said that it's sexist. It's sexist to point out that a dying woman with dementia should probably step down. And that she said that it wouldn't happen if it was a man.
She should go on to Twitter.
Dude, it's Longshanks is just dying in the Capitol building and doesn't know where they are. But it's like, this is the most identity politics shit in the world. The obvious thing would be to play the ageist card, but that won't possibly get enough people riled up. So you play the sexist card. You think when we look at Diane Feinstein, we see a woman? When you look at One-Eye Willie, a woman is what stands out. No, you see a dying person. Let them go, dude. Just go to the light. Let this lady go. The only way to be sexist, and I actually support this, would be if we actually spend some federal money on this. Get Diane Feinstein the Pelosi titties. Right? If we just got her the biggest set of cans ever so she could just be all slumped and one-eyed, but with some big fucking tits. Eh? But dude, she has $200 million, that lady, because like Nancy, I'd imagine she's very, very good at guessing stocks. But no, she comes from money. Her husband had a shitload of money. And like, what happened to sunsetting? Right? What happened to gracefully just fucking settling down, drink a little mint julep here and there, some nice tea, spend some time with your grandkids, and die in peace without trying to run the fucking world while you're doing it. It's wild, dude. Like that used to. There's a generation of guys and like of actors. I feel like, right, that like they got old and you just didn't see them anymore. And the press has this obsession with like, it's disgusted me every time. I've wanted to talk about it before, but I haven't. But it was like Gene Hackman out for groceries. He looks awful. He's 90 something. It's like, and then Jack Nicholson, almost 90, looking haggard. Yeah, that guy is dying. Let him fucking die.
Let him watch the Lakers game in peace and die.
Yeah, no, right. He hasn't been going to Lakers games and shit. Like he's been like reclusive for a few years because he doesn't have it anymore. Let the fucking guy go, man. It's crazy. Like it was never like, oh, look at these last known pictures of Cary Grant on dialysis or some shit. It's fucking awful. But yeah, I feel like everything, all of these people that are, have been in power for 60 fucking years, all of them come down to Jerry Nadler. It's all Jerry Nadler. Are you familiar with the great Jerry Nadler fart of 2020?
I don't think I am.
Oh, my dear Robert, you are in for a treat. Started at 6 seconds and go. Wait, Bobby, I hear it in your background.
Introducing the Protecting Our Democracy Act so that we may restore these and other checks and balances that are so fundamental to our democracy.
Oh! Here's Nancy.
And they'll bring on
I'm hearing the echo, Bobby.
Congresswoman Maloney. I want to join the distinguished chairman in acknowledging legislation of other members of Congress that are contained.
Right there
in the
was where she gave it up.
Legislation that they are putting forth.
Play it back 5 seconds.
And I also want to acknowledge what's contained in the
She
chairman's
throws up in her mouth. Now watch Jerry. Watch Jerry. Keep an eye on Jerry. Nancy's still talking. Keep an eye on Jerry. Nothing to see here. I didn't shit my pants just now. Look at that. Dude. The fucking waddle off. If that is not a pant leg full of poop walk, literally nothing in the world is. But so there was all this debate over if he had an oopsie moment, right? Oh, wait, dude, her face at that like 33-second mark, like, because she played it off with like a G. She is a true politician, but there's that one. And I actually timed it before that you could go that long talking without taking a breath, and then at some point you're gonna have to fucking load back up. And,
oh God,
dude, that is the exact moment. But so that one's good, but then it was actually really hard to find this one because it's there's so many versions of it, like this next one, that have added sound effects, but then this is it with the sound that somebody added the sound, and you can't unsee it
that are so fundamental to our democracy.
There's thousands of these. The lift up, nobody ever goes like that without.
Congresswoman Maloney, I want to join the distinguished chairman in acknowledging legislation of other members of Congress that are contained in the chairman's legislation that they are putting forth. And I also want to acknowledge what's contained in the chairman's legislation that they are putting
I,
forth.
I am a simple man. I know that I know they're added sound effects, but god damn it. I have watched that literally 100 times and it never gets old. But that whole scene as a microcosm is absolutely the state of fucking U.S. politics right now, right? That you have this guy just shit his ass out, and then in this woman's face, and then she's gonna pretend like he didn't just shit his doo-doo ass, right? Like, like his body, like his organs aren't just falling out of themselves, and everything is fine. That is literally what these people are doing right now. And there's this great moment that I found that I think it actually happened last week of, and Nadler's another one that this guy, he's built like Mr. Potato Head. He's been in office for 40 fucking years or something like that. But it's like, it's just the classic piss on somebody and tell them it's raining. And where are we on time, by the way?
50 minutes.
Holy shit. So
Gentlemen, you?
watch this.
These are your words. You said, quote, there should be substantial cuts to the police budget, unquote. So they cut $1 billion.
Yes.
Bunch of pussies.
I want to join the distinguished chairman in acknowledging legislation of other members of Congress that are contained in the chairman's legislation there and chairwoman's. And I also want to acknowledge Maxine Waters is doing
Yes, I do.
important work
Yeah.
on this subject, not part of this package, but part
That's
of
good.
Preserving our democracy.
Yeah. Yeah. Those people that are that feel unsafe, they're only telling you their own personal experience. Like, piss on me and tell me it's rated, dude. Like, oh, so people aren't worried about getting thrown into trains now. That's not happening. There hasn't been, in the last 3 years, more people have died getting thrown onto the tracks than they have in the last 10, or in the 10 before these last 3 years. Right?
Absolutely.
We're not all, like I talked about last week, we're not all deputies in our own self-defense. And if you defend yourself, then you're also going to be a racist that's going to get thrown in jail. So, dude. The subway thing, that thing really, like, had me thinking about stuff because, like, I have somebody in my life that is mentally ill, right? And might watch this. I don't know. It's somebody that I love and I've known for 30 years. But like, in all the experiences that I've had with trying to get him help, it's like the only thing that I know of it is that the disease will always try to protect the disease, right? Any disease, any virus is all about self-preservation and propagation. So, the reason that people foam at the mouth when they have rabies or that animals do is because it's transmitted in the saliva, right? And the reason it's dangerous is that animals' brains get hijacked and all they want to do is bite. So, in the same way, it seems with mental illness stuff, it's like all the disease wants to do is make them stay sick. And that dude, Jordan Neely, he had, when he cracked the 67-year-old woman's skull, he got some sweetheart deal because, part of the problem is like, if you put him in jail, they're just going to be the craziest motherfucker in jail. And he's going to be throwing shit and he's going to be bouncing off the walls in there. So the DA made a deal. The same DA that's trying to prosecute the guy that, you know what happened. Same DA gives a deal that he has to start taking meds and voluntarily go into a mental health facility where he's supposed to live for, I think it was a month. And he starts taking the meds, and after a few days, starts feeling better. And then the next thing after I feel better is, well, I actually like it better when I feel like myself, when I can rage. And he checked himself out against medical advice, AMA, and went back on the streets and stopped taking the meds. So, there's nowhere to put him that you can lock him down and make him get psychiatric help anymore. It's supposedly racist to force somebody to stay in a psychiatric facility per New York's own city council. And then when you defend yourself, you wind up with manslaughter charges. It's fucked, man. It's absolutely fucked. But there's already been $2 million raised for this guy's defense. And first of all, he is not Kyle Rittenhouse. He's not George Zimmerman. There's not any kind of racial component to this. I don't think. But what I do know is that he stinks at jiu-jitsu. Buddy, you won. You won. You don't have to rub it in, you silly goose. But I'm calling it right now that I think this guy, Daniel Penny, that's his name, right? Daniel Penny, is going to be the hot convict of the right. Remember Hot Convict like 10 years ago? There was the mugshot that went viral. That all these girls wanted to bang. I'm calling it right now. Daniel Penny is going to be slinging dick in red states. And I also say $2 million is not enough. That's the thing. You can't go into a legal battle and the other side knows how much money you have. They're going to make you spend more than that, right? So what needs to happen, calling it right here, Logan Paul has to fight this fucking guy. How great would that be? Or if he takes on both the fucking Paul brothers in a choke-off. Just a headlock contest with both of the Paul brothers. I am here for it, dude. Let's make this shit happen, baby. But, all right. That is enough. I have a whole bunch of shit. If I go into my next topic, it's going to be way too long. I wanted to talk about hunters, hookers, but that will be fun. That we might just have to change or save until next week. This was great. Bobby, did we have fun?
Oh, it was awesome, buddy.
I had fun. Thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe. And I can't talk. Please, hold please. Please like and subscribe. And, hit the little buttons. I love the comments that you do. And let's tag Jake Paul and Logan Paul. I think we could really get this thing to pop off. That would be wild.
That'd be awesome.
If those guys... That would be the greatest thing ever. Or what if, all these dudes that can't fight, that kill people, what if they started their own little fight league,
That'd be awesome.
But, all right, well, next time I should be back in North America and not in the motherland. But thank you so much. Love you guys for watching and listening. Having a lot of fun doing it.
In a world that's been kicked in the nuts by fake news, nobody knows what to believe.
I don't know what I said.
We need one maverick newsman to cut through all the noise and tell us what's really real.
I'm not that guy.